Hey everybody, welcome to Module 3 of English 2089. Module 3 is over discourse analysis. If you don't know what discourse is, don't worry. The first sort of goal of this module is to define discourse and figure out what it is. The first lecture is all over discourse and discourse communities. But I like to think about discourse as the way certain groups or certain communities talk about specific topics. The discourse involves the values that this community brings to that topic, the education, sort of their stance, all the things that sort of we talked about when we were talking about genre and writers and audience, right? Like audiences and writers have certain personal baggage that they bring to topics, and it's the same in a discourse community. Members of certain discourse communities have certain personal baggage, personal beliefs, stances, all sorts of kind of things that make up their viewpoint on life. And that viewpoint is going to affect the way that community communicates about a certain topic, and that's the discourse, right? The discourse is the specific way that a community talks about something, and it grows out of, a group, the members of that community's personal beliefs, orientation towards certain things, education, socioeconomic status, etc., etc. So in this module, what you're going to do is you're going to pick a community. It might be a good idea to pick a community that you're a part of, because you'll have less work to do that way. You're already familiar with the communities that you're a part of, so you kind of already have the first step done. If you're not a member of the community, you can still analyze that discourse community. Just realize that it might be more work for you. It's definitely going to be easier to pick a community that you're a part of, but that's not required. You'll also have to do primary and secondary research for this paper. I'll explain the difference between primary and secondary research in another podcast, but I also have stuff on primary and secondary research on the Blackboard page. This module takes a little bit longer than the other two modules. We don't move at quite the breakneck pace as the genre analysis and the literary narrative, or literacy narrative. Rather, as you can see, this module goes about 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks, somewhere along there. Because of that, though, we have a little bit more work. As you can see, we have more readings, and there'll be more assignments, but each assignment is kind of working up towards the final paper, so, the more you have more work, but it all sort of adds up or is working towards the final paper. As always, I'll have sample discourse analysis essays, which I haven't posted yet, but I will as soon as I find some good ones to post. And also peer review guidelines, peer review group breakdown. I'll be changing the groups this time around just to even things out. Some people have dropped the class or aren't participating, so I need to kind of smooth that out, make sure none of the groups have too many slackers in them. 5 lectures, one more than usual, but the module's a little bit longer, so that's okay. One more discussion board post, so you have the peer review as usual. You have a research update, which is kind of like the genre analysis plan or the literacy analysis plan. The new one is the discourse community map reflection. The discourse community map and the discourse community map reflection are two different yet related assignments. You'll just be sending me the discourse community map, and then you'll be posting about the discourse community map on the discussion board. So what is the discourse community map? Well, first of all, it's due Friday, July 25th by 11:55 p.m. What the discourse community map is it's kind of a visual representation of different communities that you might be looking at. So choose 4 to 5 communities that you are thinking about sort of looking at for your discourse community analysis, and then kind of map out the conventions, the typical genres that are used by that community, the subjects that are written by that community, what kind of specialized language is used by that community, and how does one become a member of that community. There's a couple different ways you can do it. You can do it in this grid fashion, which works perfectly well. It's a good way to organize your thoughts if you're the kind of person that likes very clear, organized grid structure. But you can also do it more visually like this. You can do it more, I guess, classic brainstormy if you want. It's really up to you. It doesn't matter to me which sort of discourse community map style that you pick. Just make sure if you do the grid or if you do the more classic brainstormy map that you cover these 5 things. When I talk about genres, so think about, does your community use like pamphlets, brochures, internet chat rooms, newsletters, emails, face-to-face meetings? So what types of communication do you see in your community? What genres of communication do you see in your community? Subjects is pretty straightforward. Specialized language is pretty straightforward. The rest of these, I think, are pretty straightforward. Maybe not rules, conventions. So, for example, if you're talking about a fraternity or a sorority, right? The way, the conventions of communication in a fraternity or sorority are much different than the conventions of communication in a classroom or in the workplace, right? So what kind of communication goes on in that discourse community, and what are the rules or the conventions or the guidelines that sort of structure that communication? 2 reading responses this time around. The discourse analysis proposal is due on Wednesday, July 30th, 1 week from today. I have a more specific explanation of the discourse analysis proposal on Blackboard. I can show it to you. Right here, Guidelines for Discourse Community Project Proposals. It's a more in-depth kind of explanation of the discourse analysis proposal, but you also have a short one right here. The big daddy of this is the discourse analysis, which is a lot longer, about twice as long as your other papers, but you'll have more to talk about. I have a couple of suggestions, some different guidelines down here. A couple things to think about though. Pick a community that's kind of small. Don't pick like a nationwide sort of discourse community, because the bigger your discourse community is, the more moving parts that's going to be in that discourse community, the more things that you kind of have to contend with. So if you pick a discourse community that's kind of small-ish, you have less things to worry about. First step, though, is look at the texts and genres that the discourse community uses. So what kinds of things does your discourse community use to communicate? Do they have Facebook, blog, different kinds of social media, newsletters, meetings, stuff like that? The primary research of your module comes right here. Primary research is the kind of research that you go out and do yourself. So instead of, for example, going out and finding a survey that someone's already done and citing it, you would be doing the survey instead. So primary research is the research you do yourself. So for example, if you were to interview someone in your discourse community, that would be primary research. If you were to conduct a survey of members of your discourse community, that's primary research. If you were to go and do some first-hand observation of a meeting or of the discourse community in action, that's primary research. But the primary research is the research that you gather yourself through either observation, interview, survey, etc. As you can see here, I have 3 different sort of additional readings on primary research to help you out with that. So hopefully you have a good idea on what primary research is and how to conduct it. I'll also, I think, have a lecture on primary research. Yep, primary and secondary research techniques. Awesome. So that's all covered. So whatever direction you take this project in, I'll be looking to see, are you looking at how the discourse community communicates, the different genres they use to communicate, and then, make some conclusions about, okay, based on the way the discourse community communicates and based on the genres that they use, you can sort of conclude this about the community. That, they believe this about certain things, that they, are sort of constituted with this kind of groups of people that believe these certain things, but really draw some conclusions about the beliefs or the prejudices, the biases, whatever, of the discourse community. So it's both descriptive and then sort of conclusive. I can't say that. It's sort of, there's a better way to put this. So it's both based on description and conclusion, right? So you're going to be describing the discourse community, and then based on that description you provided, you're going to be coming to some conclusions about, what the discourse community believes, what their values are, what their biases are, whatever. Of course, I have, more toolbox activities to help you with the writing of your discourse community analysis. I need to post some more of those, but they should be up soon. Specifically, the discourse analysis, brainstorming, and writing strategies. Everything else should be up from the toolbox. I have information on plagiarism and stuff like that. I have stuff on primary and secondary research. I have the sample discourse community map, so a lot of the stuff that you need, is already on there. But if you have any more questions, feel free to email me or post in the discussion board, and I will help you out.